everyone, and welcome to another horror review. Well, I wasn't actually planning to do this. It's a bank holiday weekend, so it's on a major lazy day. I mean, I have been slovenly, so just all over the place. But of course, TV ends up going on, looking for something to watch. I was trying to watch non-horror stuff. I started off with what's it? Never Back Down 2. I think I managed 10 minutes, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't. Beep. What else did I try? Oh god, there's this dodgy one with Jason Statham on it. It's new on Amazon, and how can action movies be boring? Like, it must take some skill for a so-called exciting, globe-trotting action movie dealing with spies and actually make it a snore fest. So I've been that one, and then I'm sort of scrolling through the different stream services, and I happen to come across this Cradle of Fear. Now, I don't know how I missed it because I'm a Cradle of Fear fan. Must have been. I'm following Facebook and everything, so it's like get all the updates. And this was back in 2001. For some reason, I missed it. So there you go. Good opportunity then. Thought I'd give it a bash. Oh my word, this was super cheesy. I have developed a theory that music artists shouldn't really be involved in movies. I don't know. Anytime there's like a band movie crossing, I'll use an example. Metallica, when they did that Through the Never, absolute pile of guff. That was horrendous. I mean, it was painful to watch. I think I've erased it from my brain. Danzig. Yeah, Karen and I have talked about that flipping Danzig anthology. God, where do we dig that up? God, apparently he's making a sequel, or he has made a sequel since, but oh my god, that was awful. This isn't quite as bad, but there's a lot of layers of cheese in this. What's weird is it's supposed to be an anthology, but it's loosely overarching plot. But it's telling three different stories, and then the fourth one is what ties it together. But it's all kind of put together, but they don't really separate it out, so it can be a bit confusing, if that makes sense. So if you haven't read the description and know that it's a anthology of sorts, but they're still trying to tie it together, you'd be watching this going, what the hell's going on? And that's why I'm saying it's directed by the guy who's done quite a few of their videos. And he wrote it as well. I actually think if Danny Philp had wrote this, it would have been a lot better, because their music, and if you're not into the genre, that's fair enough, but compared to black metal, it's not everybody's taste, but Cradle of Filth stand out. They're kind of their own entity. They're one of my favorite bands because they're similar to Iron Maiden. They're storytellers, and they use the music medium to tell stories. So when you read the lyrics, go through a lot of songs, there's a story there. It's usually based on I don't know, Edgar Allan Poe or Lovecraft, or there's old tales. There's a lot of stuff there. Obviously the imagery's dark, which if you like it, you like it. You don't. That's fine. I would recommend you do a lot of instrumental stuff, which is actually really tight musically. So I think because it got lumped into the whole black metal genre, they're kind of stuck in that, but they're different. Yeah. So it was weird that the band, most of the band starring us. In fact, what was really cool, the guy who plays Kemper, the main antagonist of the story, he's a serial killer who's locked up in an asylum. David McKeown, he's the guy that's at the start of her Ghost in the Fog music video. So if you ever look that up, you see the guy with the axes at the start, sort of the wild looking crazy man. He's starring in this, so if you're a Cradle of Filth fan, there's a lot of member berries. I'll say that. So this is not so much geared towards horror fan. There's a lot of horror, a lot of gore, all that stuff. But this is geared towards fans of the band because there's member berries all the way through this. The band's all in it at the time. Like one thing about this band is they've had so many lineup changes over like they've been going got a good 30 odd years now. You know, at least I think they're at least 30 years. They've been going a long time. A lot of member changes, and this 2001, I think I was around about the time of the Midian album, which we're going to talk about next week, Midian, because it's loosely based on Nightbreed, and it comes from, it was a fictional place. I think it was supposed to be in the border of Iraq. Midian, you know, there's a lot of callbacks in the storytelling, which is a bit of a shame in this because we're not getting that level. Oh, evening, Chris. Welcome. I wasn't planning to do this, but here I am. Guess I'm kind of addicted to being in front of the camera and talking waffle, but I was like, no, I think I have to justify sitting in front of the TV. I think that's what it is. If I spend a lot of time sitting in front of the TV, I have to do something with it. I can't just sit and aimlessly watch stuff, you know. So at least if I'm coming on and talk about it, at least I feel like I'm not wasting the time. God, what's this plot? So we'll start off, and Danny Filth, he's the lead singer of Cradle of Filth, and if you didn't guess, he's known as the Man. He's no name in it, and he kind of appears through this. So start off with him walking down the street, all in his golf gear, and he gets set upon by two muggers, and then that's the first kind of scene. They're beating him up, go to search, and then he jumps up again and dispatches them both. And that's when you kind of know it's going to be like cheesy, gory horror movie. Sorry, this is set in London and thereabouts. So interesting again. So it proves that Britain can do as cheesy movies as an American horror director. You know what I mean? Low budget horror director. We could do it just as well as anyone else and make it just as cringy. So I don't know if that's a point of pride or not, but I'm just throwing that out there. Then we'll go to this weird scene. We've got the inspector. So it's not all like your typical music video where everyone looks as if they're either members of the band or fans of the music genre. That's one thing I think sets this one apart because they've got a mix of goth people in the appropriate settings, but then you've got ordinary members of the public. That's all kind of mixed in. So you've got a police inspector turns up, and he's going to a murder scene. There's two girls, one's at the bed, all stabbed to bits, and the other one's on the floor, similar sort of thing. And then we'll go to like a flashback where those two are in the club, and then one of them meets Danny Filth's character, goes back, and it's a bit like Rosemary's Baby. Becomes, you know, the sex scene becomes like Rosemary's Baby. Starts hallucinating and all and stuff, and then going around the next day, and then it just leads to utter carnage. What's interesting though is they're supposedly unrelated, but as we get deeper into each story, and then basically what it does an anthology-esque episode. So we see that with the two girls, and then it goes to the inspector who's trying to solve the case, because guess what, it's a horror movie, so every scene needs somebody getting killed because that's a horror movie. But what the inspector's doing then is piecing together the connections and tying these three together. I think it takes until the second one. The second one's where these two girls, and they're breaking into a home to rob it. And yeah, it turns out that the old man's still in the house and he's deaf, so he didn't hear them, but he's under the bed, you know, under the covers. Surprisingly, that leads the thing. There's a funny thing because they bop him in the head with something heavy a few times, and then they both get in the bath together. And then it turns out one of the girls told someone else, so the other girl turns on her, which is funny because they're clean off the evidence. Then she trips and knocks her head off down the stairs, and then wakes up with a full face of makeup in the morning. So she goes from completely scrubbing herself in the bath and then bopping her head on the stairs, and then wakes up full makeup. I just think things like that are hilarious because it means that they haven't thought, they've come in for a new scene. She's obviously finished that night one. They've gone away, they come back to doing it, so she's got herself all made up again, and they haven't started from the previous position, which, yeah, just notice all the music videos depicts lots of fans of the band and try to convince you to become one too. Yeah, well, that's, I mean, at the end of the day, they're selling their album, they're selling whatever. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. What I'm talking about though, and it doesn't happen too often, is where musicians try to make movies, and especially sort of horror ones. Like obviously you came in the stream a bit late, but I cited the Metallica one, which was god awful, and then there was a Danzig one, which was even like that is the rock bottom tier for why musicians shouldn't make movies. If you were building a case to go to court to have musicians banned from ever making movies, you would use those, and possibly this one. I don't know. Maybe because I'm a bit biased, being a Cradle of Fear fan, I don't want to hate this movie, but it's pants. It's just cheesy as hell. But they've tried to tell a story, which is different again from these type of movie, because normally it is just the band and a scene. The band's involved, member very scene involved, and there's nothing, really worth doing. They got through. They never was. I think I would have put that as the worst ever movie attempt at a movie ever made, and definitely the worst crossover, like musician making film crossover ever made. If Danzig hadn't done his god awful anthology thing, I need to find more examples, but then I don't want to hurt my brain watching them. So here in the chat, if you find examples of musicians that have made movies, I don't know how to describe it, because it's not a movie. It's always done in the style of a music video, but longer. I guess things there are 2 hours long. That bit goes on for ages. And anytime it's been done, it's never been good. And you got to wonder, it's not about creative talent, because obviously musicians have made careers, hundreds of thousands, not millions of fans. Obviously they write their own lyrics, non-pop stuff anyway, tends to be the case. We'll not talk about pop music, but just yeah. Sorry, I'm struggling here a wee bit with this one. But yeah, you need the. I don't know. It's a different pace. I think I've talked about this before, where the difference between writing short stories and novels, or novellas, or someone that writes trilogies as opposed to one pieces. I think it's a different skill set, and definitely like writing song lyrics and getting meaning into them, and maybe making a music video is completely different from making a movie. And if you have a particular skill set, I don't think there's anything wrong with staying in your lane and pushing yourself creatively in that sense. I think you need to, don't know how to say this, because I don't want to sound as if, just do your thing, don't ever stretch yourself and try new things. I think you need to recognize your skill set, and I think you need to know your limits, and pushing something just for the sake of pushing it, if you're not going to make something of quality, is maybe not the best idea. Yeah, Sting, because he was in June as well, but that wasn't I think there's a difference between a musician being in a movie cast as an actor. Because we'll always use Whitney Houston's a perfect example of when she was in The Bodyguard. She was fantastic in that, but she didn't write the movie, and it wasn't on the music. No, I mean that was a proper movie. She just happened to be cast in it. Who else? David Bowie. I need to find it because anyone who's a horror fan knows David Bowie is familiar with The Hunger. He was only in that for like the first 10 minutes, but everyone classes that as a David Bowie movie, even though he's only in it for flipping 10 minutes. Labyrinth, while he was in it as, the character of the Goblin King, and he sung in it, that was a Jim Henson production. So it's not a musician trying to make a movie. That's what's tricky here, and I'm trying to be careful, not careful with words because they're fake, but I just want to be accurate with what I say. This is a particular event when musicians try to make a movie and it comes out as a longer form of a music video and not a movie itself. If you remember, if you look back to my conversation with Dick Dale, the director that wrote Rip Spreader, he comes from a punk background, and you can kind of see that influence. And to me, and I did discuss with him on the show, he would be ideal for making music videos because he has that vibe. It just so happened that he's able to pull that, he made a cohesive movie despite him taking 2 years and stop and start with it. And he's one of those few people who's actually able to, keep the sort of style. But I think because of the style of the movie, it worked well that way. But a lot of people who are principally musicians, when they try to make movies, it doesn't work. And maybe I should have, but like I said, I wasn't planning to go up. This was just a throwaway movie. I just thought it caught me eye. I thought I'd give it a bash, and I come on. So I hadn't really thought about looking up various examples, but definitely in heavy metal, for example. Anytime they've tried to do it in a movie and do it with this, I think they rely too much on the aesthetics and not the substance. And I think that's a problem with culture, if that makes sense. When something is a particular culture, it's expected to look a certain way, it's expected to act a certain way. And therefore they get trapped in their bubble. Now, there isn't, I can't remember the name of the one, but Fred Durst, he's directed a movie recently, and it's nothing like, nothing like Limp Bizkit. It's a completely serious movie. I think I've seen the trailer, or I've seen something about it. I need to go and look it up. But that's somebody just completely focusing on as a director and leading the music side. So it's this weird hybrid thing I think they try that doesn't work, doesn't come across well. It just comes across very hammy. I hope I've explained that right, because I'm actually racking my brain here trying to find the words, because it's a particular type of phenomenon, and we've seen it before, and it just falls into the same pattern. But anyway, yeah, so these two girls, it becomes, like I said, another flipping murder fest and that. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. Aha. Slash from Guns N' Roses made a horror movie called Breach. So this could, it has a danger of falling into the same trap. Oh, God, I saw Axl Rose on a video that popped up about a week or two ago, and he was singing with someone, Welcome to the Jungle. God, that man has not looked after himself. It's almost tragic. because he's kind of trying to prance about the stage like he's still in his 20s, and it doesn't work. You see a lot of other stars. I'll give you perfect, two good examples. Rob Halford, Bruce Dickinson. There's two singers who have matured and have not shied away from aging, if that makes sense. And they've realized that they've had to temper their lifestyle to keep performing. Where, I don't know, Guns N' Roses made, half a dozen decent tunes back in the day. They were like a rebel band, but the burnt out, like, what was it? The flipping spaghetti incident or something? The one after Use Your Illusion 2, that was it. They just fell apart. They weren't the band that they were. Because I think because they were just the party, the party band, and that's all they were interested in, that they were never destined to have longevity. But it'd be interesting to see. Slash is an interesting one. He's always been more of a creative anyway. I think he's been the most creative member of that band, and he's done other projects and performed with different artists. Paul McCartney flip. Yeah, I think it's about lifestyle. I'm getting in there. I'm well on the wrong side of my mid-40s, pushing towards the big 50. And I have to realize I can't sit and just party, or I have to kind of look after myself a bit if I want to keep going. I have to stretch and stuff. I'm back in doing a physical job, so I have to I'm not in my 20s or 30s anymore. I can't just go and thrash myself all day, and I kind of have to pace myself and flipping make sure I'm using the tools and stuff and not trying to be a big hard man, because it's just end up breaking myself. My dad is not the best. Because I live on my own, I suppose. Cooking stuff, as in full balanced meals, isn't really worth it for one person. Now, I make a lot of one-ins and stews and goulashes and stuff, and then freeze and use that. But that's what kind of attempt. It would be so easy. It would be so easy for me to live in takeaway, and I refuse to download those apps, like Just Eat and stuff, that you just press a button on your phone and food arrives at your house. To me, that'd be the kiss of death. So I always attempt to make my own food, and then if it's a weekend and I'm feeling lazy, I'll walk to a takeaway, because at least then I'm getting out and I'm motivating myself, do I really want this? And if it's not nice outside, or if I'm not feeling it, then I'll not go and do it. Where I think if you get in that thing, if you just lifestyle, you just order stuff that arrives in, you don't do any exercise whatsoever, you don't drink enough water, you don't get enough sleep, you go downhill very quickly. And trust me, you might think I'm an old knackered fart, but I've seen people the same age as me and they look 20 years older. Just saying, because of, still trying to party like they're teenagers, and it's it's not good. I think a lot of bands, if they don't have that moment of, oh, right, things have changed, I need to reevaluate my priorities and make sure that I'm staying match fit, so to speak. It's like trying to play a sport. Anyone that's tried to play a sport after 30 understands this. I played rugby up until I was 37, and definitely 35 upwards. Those last 2 years, you had to really look after yourself. There wasn't going out in the lash the night before and then turn up for the game in the morning. It just didn't happen. Yeah, so that all comes into effect. Don't know why I'm going off on this tangent. Just musicians, rock bands, metal bands. I think they're the guiltiest of falling into the party trap. That's what it is, and not adjusting their lifestyle. Hence why they burn out. And then creatively, they don't always come across with other stuff, because they're, kind of get stuck in that little niche. Bruce Dickinson. Actually, I wanna cover that. I need to find that again. He made a movie on Aleister Crowley. And it was done as a horror movie. It's actually quite decent. But then again, there's somebody who's didn't just put himself in a pigeonhole. There's somebody that's a writer as well, and musician, pilot, fencer, keeps himself fit. So that's it wasn't done in the music video style, but like this movie though, there's lots of nods and winks and member berries. The few Iron Maiden tunes, playing in the background. Same as this. There's a lot of Cradle of Filth sort of intros and parts of songs sort of subtly played through the background. But they do this weird techno thing, like horror techno stuff in between, which is really jarring. I think they should have maybe, once again, I think they've loosely based this. I mean, they've played with the name and stuff, Cradle of Fear. So it should have been a Cradle of Filth horror anthology. That's what they do. They're like a burlesque horror goth band. That's what they do. They tell stories. They make a horror show. They've progressed a lot, because I remember last time I saw them live, it was just the live show doesn't equate to their videos and their persona, just very bland. But that was probably back not so long after this time. But they've started to throw in, like, they're bringing circus performers on stage now and throw in those sort of acts. So they've upgraded, and it's more of a show now, which I appreciate. Need to find out when they're next in London again and go down and see them. But yeah, there's lots of, like, there's going to somebody's house, there's a poster up on the wall, what was it? Cruelty and the Beast poster was up on one of the walls I noticed, and I think there's probably something else. But yeah, it's okay to do that, but you have to disconnect from the music video mentality. Yeah, what's the next one? You get this guy who's an amputee, and he's having trouble getting relations with his girlfriend, who totally adores him, but they're flipping driving along in a wee Porsche, through the streets of London, sniffing coke and stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, that's not a good start. That's probably how you got in trouble. Yeah, it turned out it was an accident, so probably how you got the drama in the first place. Yeah, and that thing is, he wanted another leg, so he goes and takes somebody's leg off him. It was a bit of a mad script. A bit like a Frankenstein thing, stealing someone else's leg and then it rebels on him, because obviously if you steal something from someone, then it's that whole thing. What was it? Not the Tingler. The whole idea of possession. Back when transplants and body organ donations weren't really just brand new, and there's still a lot of horror. So do you remember the movie where the guy had the arm transplant, but it was the arm of a serial killer, and it took over him? Can't remember the name of it. But yeah, those type of movies were a thing. So it kind of plays into that. So I think if you come to this movie with that sort of expectation, it's just nods and winks and hamminess, you can kind of get through. Then the next one is actually very similar to the one Steve and I covered. What was that movie? About the snuff movies online that people logged into. God, I'm terrible with names. But we got this third one. This guy's a reporter, and he's looking at all the sites, supposedly for a story. But it turns out he gets obsessed, and then goes down this rabbit hole. And then he's tracking down the Nick Cage did it with 8mm. That was more that was a good movie. Don't know if no, that's more of a thriller than horror, but you can definitely tell the horror elements in it. Yeah, that was a good movie. So it's kind of along those lines. He's trying to track down the person, then he ends up in the movie, and he ends up being one of the victims in the movie on the side himself. So that was it. But these are all coming out. What it turns out is all these people who end up in these situations are all connected to the prosecution, the judge, the inspectors who put this guy. Is it? I just said it earlier on too. Kemper. Yeah, so Kemper was put away. But he's busy plotting revenge on the people that put them away or through their family members. So one of them was the judge's son or the judge's daughter. One was the chief prosecutor's son or daughter. The chief inspector's, detective inspector's son was the third one, the guy with the snuff movies, you know, the one that we're following as well, coming and investigating these cases after they happened, and then starts putting the pieces together all linked. And then it turns out that the man, you know, Danny Pfeil's character is Kemper's son, and it's through sneaking notes out the window of the asylum that he's given instructions to his son to go and do these things. And then it all comes to like a final showdown. That makes sense. He goes to the asylum. Once he finds out about his son, he goes to the asylum with the intention of dispatching Kemper. Then there's a whole confrontation. Danny Pfeil's character appears, gets convoluted, and then he gets dispatched. Then he takes care of Kemper. But then Danny Pfeil's character comes back as some sort of demonic alien thing. Oh god, the CGI that was using that was horrendous. Really bad. Sci-fi channel type stuff. But there you go. For such a long movie, there's not much. When you break down each of the individual stories and plot, there's really not much in it. A lot of it was kind of dragged out. Saying here's 120 minutes, definitely longer than that. It's 140. So unless I was watching a director's cut or something. But there you go. There was that one. Yeah, a bit of an older movie, but like I said, I was just checking out in random. Hope you enjoyed it. That's basically the review. Don't know how I didn't hate it, if that makes sense. Didn't hate it. Wouldn't be in a rush to watch it again. But if it happens to be on in the background, like I wouldn't switch off immediately. As I said, I've had a couple of goes at movies today and just gave up. I'll say one thing about horror. Even the cheesy bad movies, there's a fun element to them. Whenever they do sequels to like action stuff, it's just trite. Like I said, I tried watching that. I remember watching the first Never Back Down. It was all right as a movie. It was an interesting concept. Some of the camera work they did, you know, showing the bones and stuff was cool. But I got into the second part of this and I just gave up. It was just nothing there. And I like Michael J. White. I love Blood and Bone. I loved him in that. And he was in Black Friday, Cameron and I covered with Bruce Campbell. You know what I mean? I like him as an actor, but just there was like 10 minutes before he even first appeared, and I'd given up on the movie already because it was just a load of storefest. And then he first appears in it, and I'm like, I'm not suffering through this to see a few action scenes. It's not worth it. It's just not an interesting movie. So there you go. At least I watched this one to the end, you know. At least that's something about horror. At least you can, even the bad ones, you can kind of watch them through to the end and have a laugh at them, if nothing else. Where other genres take themselves too seriously, so you can't even laugh at it. But there you go. Oh god, what's going on with my mouse? I keep trying to bring comments back, and my mouse disappears. Gotta love technology and the clip professionalism of this channel. Oh, cool. We'll have to get I'll need to think of another scenario. I'm trying to talk Cameron into joining in a game, and maybe do it on Sunday morning when I normally try to stream. So, do your friends play? If they do, might try and get something set up. Doing our way, even if they've never played Call of Cthulhu, like Sable, can always set up a game if I think I'm going to get a few players. Yeah, drop us a shout in Skype or something, then we can take it from there. But there you go. I'll wrap us up here because there's not really. I'm just going to end up waffling now about other things because the movie's done. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do watch the movie, let us know what you think. I'll put the link in the description, all that good stuff. But if you've seen this before from ages ago, just be interested to see, get your takeaway on it. And do you agree, disagree? As always, keep it civil, you know, we're grown ups at the end of the day. But there you go. Go up to the table of the channel, do the typey things. And until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.